Hi, my name is Amy. Thank you very much for watching, and let's make some bad financial decisions together. This is for entertainment purposes only, so if you're entertained, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. So, I was asked about my opinion on MSTY and doing options on MSTY, specifically doing calls and then puts. So, for myself, I have 100% ROI on the MSTY that I hold today. So that became a thing ahead of schedule because I did have 2 calls out, and one of them was expiring 6 months from then, and the other one was in December of this year. So, one was in September and the other one was in December, and it happened last distribution in May. So, when the distribution is high enough, you and your calls wind up being in the money, then your shares will get assigned away. So that's what they mean by capping of your returns. Like, I could have sold it for, $23 a share, but I wound up having to sell it at $21 per share. I had rolled it forward for a few months at that point, so I had gotten the difference in money back. It just doesn't feel great. That's just how I'm going to put it. So I'm not as big of a fan of doing covered calls on MSTY, even if you can get premium, and you can get pretty good premium on it. The premium also on this is not as good as if you do the leveraged MSTX and MSTU or on MicroStrategy itself. So if you want to do covered calls on MSTY, it might be better for you to try to buy a call on MSTR very, very far in the future, and then use that as the collateral to sell covered calls, and you'll get more premium than if you had just bought into MSTY. It's just that MicroStrategy is very volatile, so you'd wind up having to go further out of the money, and your returns might not be as good as if you had just been in MSTY and let somebody else manage it for you. So I prefer doing options on MSTU and MSTX because they're cheaper than doing it on MR, and I can do a regular dividend wheel, and the premium is better than if I had just been in MSTY. So my options plays that I do for MSTY are actually on MSTX and MSTU. I don't want to hold MSTX or MSTU, but doing options on them and doing a very aggressive wheel, so far it has worked out for me. I cannot guarantee that in the next time that Bitcoin tumbles, because usually, like right now, it went on, it rose quite a bit, and so now, well, I'm just holding my breath for when it falls. It's going to be very dramatic, and then we're gonna have the start of winter. So, once the crash happens, I think I would feel better doing cover calls on MSTY because I'm expecting that it's still going to be volatile, but we probably won't see it go parabolic after this, at least not in the near term. But I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know the future. So for me, that leaves us for the cash secured puts, and cash secured puts are not all that different than if you, let me find MSTY. Here's MSTY, and we go into the options. We're going to sell a put. I don't like short weeks, but whatever. But I could have just done a limit order for $21, and then I would purchase the shares for $21 if MSTY goes down that far. And I wouldn't have gotten premium if I had just done a limit order. And for Robinhood, you should probably, for the most part, do limit orders when you have enough like whole shares, because it's actually cheaper. They do like some weird fee when you do it at market, so it's slightly more expensive than if you had just told them what price you want to buy it at. So doing cash secure puts when you want to buy 100 shares of MSTY, when you want to enter the position, it's actually pretty good, because then you're getting paid, $25 to $40, depending on if you want to do it here or if you want to do it here. Like, to me, $21.50 is still a good price. $21 is a good price. And so if it goes down to $20, then I pay, it was at $21.42 right now. So even if I could have gotten it cheaper in the future, it's cheaper than it is. It would be cheaper than it is right now. I also, one reason to do a limit order and be like, I want to buy it at $21.40 is it could be at $21 tomorrow and then jump to $30 before div date, and then you don't own MSTY to get that 100+% distribution. So I think that if you want to enter MSTY, you do the cash secure puts for 3 weeks, and then just make sure that before the distribution, you own the shares, and then just be in MSTY. And if you are really hellbent on like, if you YOLO'd into MSTY and you're having second thoughts, or you want to get your return on investment back, it back faster, don't do your entire position of MSTY. Do 10 to 20% of your position, and that way, if you get your shares called away, you can, you still have 80 to 90% of your MSTY to get the distributions, and you can do a dividend wheel on MSTY. It's just that you're not relatively getting as much money as if you traded against Mr. or MSTX or MSTU. But for myself, so I have a lot of MSTY, and the reason for that is because that money came from Ethereum. I figured it already came from crypto, so why not put it into something crypto related? I'm probably not worse off than it just being in Ethereum, which worked out for me. It was a bet, one that I made, and we like when we win our bets. Right now, my individual cash, this $40,000 comes from Bitcoin. So am I going to just put it all into MSTY? Well, I also got laid off, or noticed I'm going to get laid off on May 15th. So 10 days ago, or 11 really, but still. I got notice, and so it's one thing to have a really crazy and bold portfolio when you have a high-paying, stable job, and having a crazy portfolio and you're relying on it to give you money consistently so that you can pay your bills. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, who am I kidding? I'm actually this money here, this $40,000. I'm going to put 30% into GLDY as my hedge, and then I'm probably going to do a bunch of puts into MSTY just to enter into the position. Because this $40,000 comes from Bitcoin. And then, but you're like, but Amy, you only have $100,000 into your account. Why are you putting half of it into Misty? That is Captain Insano. Like, what are you doing? We're only halfway through this transition. That's all I'm going to tell you. When we come up with the next batch of money, I will let you know what I'm going to do with that. It's going to be much more conservative, and I won't have to use margin in order to get my bills. So I'm kind of being more risky than I probably should be, but I am doing it knowing what I'm doing with the goals that I want in mind. So we'll just see how this works out. But I don't mind Misty doing puts in order to get into the position. The premiums that you get from Misty are reasonable. There's a high enough volume that it's worth your time if you want to do a limit order and you want to buy 100 shares, then you may as well do it. The risk to that is you're put in for $21, you want to get assigned, and then it shoots up to $30, and all of a sudden you can't buy $100 anymore, 100 shares anymore, because you don't have that money. So if you really want to have Misty for that distribution, you would have to settle for having less shares versus you could just continue doing the dividend wheel at the price that you want to pay, and then just hope eventually Misty's price will come down. So your risk tolerance, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. One thing though, I enabled margin. Actually, you can't really do margin, but I enabled doing options in my retirement account. And the retirement account is a little bit weird because you can't roll positions. You have to buy to close and then sell to open separately. And last week I was like, these are worthless. I'm just going to close them. But then I didn't want to buy to close. And now MicroStrategy went down a bunch and I actually got assigned my MSTU and my MSTX, and because they are 2x, they're going down quite a bit. So what are we going to do about this? Well, we're going to do cover calls on MSTU and MSTX, and then I'm done messing around. Well, once I do one last thing, I'm done messing around with my IRAs. No more IRA money is coming out. So what I'm going to do actually is do the sell puts on MSTY just to get into the positions, and then use the distributions to get back into my SCHD, and VU, like my 3-fund portfolio, and maybe get into MST in my retirement account, and that way I can buy MSTY every week. So that's what I'm going to do with my retirement account. I'm going to unmess this up and then get back into Misty, because I no longer need to try to prepare using this retirement account for the $50,000 I would owe it when I sell my condo. So that's no longer on the table. We'll get this back to looking like a retirement account that I care about keeping money in. And so just stay tuned. But I'm not against doing options on Misty. It's just that when I have 100% ROI on it, I don't want my shares called away. And it's kind of almost not worth it. Like, you get the call, like the premiums from selling the call, but then if you get paid $60, but you would have gotten $250 if you just had it, then was it really worth it if you get called away the first time? But it is a way to recoup even more money if you're like, if you bought Misty at $30 and you're like, I'm never going to get this money back, and you just want to get your ROI back faster. So yeah, those are my thoughts on doing options on Misty. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Do you do options on Misty? And I will talk to you later. Bye.